This video might have triggered me to do some kind of really crazy ass board. Okay, boy in a band got my attention again, and this time he gives a very important tip. This is really something you have to watch. So the latest video, the happiness experiment, this is the video for people who are looking for a way to become more productive. Now, what I want to do is to solve one problem. That is, the way he did it, he threatened 10,000 pounds. Wait, how the fuck do pounds even look like? I fucking forgot. I'm not gonna look it up, but let's say X, right? Money. It's really bad. Something really bad that would stab him in the face if he didn't do the work. Not only that, his goal was to be happy and productive at the same time, which he had achieved by working really hard, but not necessarily producing any results, right? Being consistent, so happy and productive by threatening himself. I want to think about this because, we have another thing that comes to my mind is sometimes people bring up the alien invasion that would trigger people to be united, at least. So this would unite all the people to fight against the threat. So this would be such a big threat that we recognize that we actually have to be productive. How do we create such a threat? And it's a very good information that was brought up, that we care only about, the immediate threats. And this is the way we can actually control our bodies. That is what comes to my mind. When you look at a body energy and the way it reacts and the way it turns into action, and which is direct energy exchange from body with the body, you actually do the actions. So how do you motivate the body to do those actions that you want to do? How the fuck do you motivate that? First of all, your body will easily recognize the threats, right? If something that you have to defend yourself, if you want to survive, then absolutely you're gonna react to that immediately. You're gonna snap to that because the body is gonna try to survive. But how do you tell it to do stuff without a threat? Or is it even possible? So it's like this guy gives you a solution, but I'm trying to say, oh no, I'm not gonna try that. I probably will have to try that, right? To threaten myself. Maybe there is a fun way to do it, right? To create an imaginary threat that to your body would be super real. This triggers a lot of questions. Absolutely. So we're gonna spend 1 hour figuring out what the fuck did I just watch, because there's definitely a need for me to be more productive, to be more consistent in terms of my potential. Basically, the potential is there, but within everyone, right? There is a potential to do great things. So if you are consistently doing stuff, and this always comes from the body, one thing that directly fuels the body is the chakra. So if I feel well fed, I can do a lot of stuff. Pretty obvious. But that really requires me to think what is a productive way of thinking. First of all, we're gonna take another part. You basically have a plan, right? You have a threat and you have a plan of action. Everything has to be very clear for the body to actually do stuff. You also have to look at this guy's plan as a success, right? So these two things, you don't need much else, you just have to consistently follow the plan, because the threat doesn't seem to go away. That's something interesting. Can you keep this up for a really, really long time? To have always a threat of something, but at the same time, if it fuels your happiness, this is it, right? Because if you know what chakra is, it's kind of a fuel of happiness. If you don't achieve happiness or satisfaction, pushing yourself with the threat, making things happen, your body is gonna try to avoid. The source, I guess. I'm not sure. It has to be, right? It has to be the source of energy. Just like a source of action is the physical body that does it. So these guys are sources. One thing that fuels very well what you want to do is passion. So I would see a video and I would act like, yeah, I'm passionate to do something like that. It's good, right? If you're able to take that kind of feel thing, yeah, that's annoying. The distractions. But again, every distraction has to be met with the same force that it gives you. If you're offended by something, you have to push through that, depending on how offensive that is to you, how much you want the goal, right? It's always like that. It's what you want determines how fucking awful a brick wall is between you and what you want, and how much you need to destroy it. It's still a question, right? What would internet say? How to be more productive? Of course, preparation, having great breakfast. I find myself, yeah, it's within a plan that he had. There's a prep for the day, right? There's a climbing mountain, doing the exercise, doing meditation, all sorts of stuff to go and prep for the actual work. And this is very good, right? The plan itself is a recognition of how the day works. Okay. What else do we have? Is that enough to understand? Now, one problem I have with this is that threat is not available for everyone. That's the first thing. How to make this unavailable thread. Something that you can figure out for yourself at least. Not maybe something that I could give, but something that you can figure out. And something that you should avoid, and this seems to avoid kind of social pressure perhaps. It's more of a justice or injustice. Because it's donating to kind of evil that you don't want to, you know. How do I do the evil laugh? Evil laughing skull, baby. Alright. That's better, right? That's a better way of designing your thread. It's basically you have to design your thread because it does threaten the way you survive in general. If you can threaten that, then you will force yourself to work. You want to be motivated to work, and once you're done, you're gonna look at the results, you're gonna feel your happiness, and instead, now that you have reached happiness, you're probably gonna just follow the same way. When you look, there's another form of this kind of plan execution. If you look at the way the heroes are portrayed, right, you figure out what the hero is and how he is fueled by constant threats and how they are created in the first place. You think like that's exactly how to be more productive. You gotta constantly exercise and start, do the harsh work, and it seems like the threat doesn't go away even when it's over, when the hero saves the day, right? Saves the day. It's almost like an interpretation for everyone's threat to their identity, right? Because everyone wants to express themselves pretty much. So the hero, or an identity, that's how you embrace that, doing the work. Alright, I might have to take a break. It's pretty harsh stuff, but it makes sense. All I have to do to myself is just to design a threat that I want to work. It's like, yeah, I want to achieve certain things, but my body doesn't want to do it. Just because of how powerful passion is. And passion is usually something that is forced out by the need to survive. At the same time, there's curiosity, of course. There are all sorts of different things. But we're focusing on that. It seems to be consistent here. Because of course, hero will be curious. Hero will try to learn. But there's certain focus aspect that he has to make in executing the plan every single day. So again, this is the most key point there is, I guess, because if you know where to start, you'll kind of know. Of course, another thing to remember is like, doing nothing against... But yeah, there's so many threats. Is it possible to just figure out the injustice system itself and embrace it? So there's an actual threat, and you're just given a simple plan. You embrace the threat, and you also embrace the identity inside of you. So hero. Hero. That's kind of weird when you put it that way. It says her. There's a 0 as well. From 0 to hero. So maybe there is a way to figure out what the actual injustice is. The way I termed it is inequality of knowledge. Okay. There are the bottom people and the top people that don't share the knowledge. They're very much different in knowledge. The whole pyramid exists to hide knowledge from other people. This is the most upsetting form of the whole system. One thing I figure out, again, the knowledge can only be accessed by individuals. Everyone individually know things. They cannot. So no one else can learn for you, but they can teach you, right? And there's nothing like that is happening. There's no teaching from the top people. Instead, what you would find in schools is not actually teaching, is actually the opposite of that, which is a distraction from what you want to do. You get distracted by irrelevant information. So the first thing you can put on the list is the hatred for schools, right? Because schools hate what you want to do by distracting you with brick walls and whatever that may look like, right? It drains you for your blood. It drains you for your care to do your own things, to care for your own things. And once you're out of it, why is it so destructive? Why schools are so destructive even after you get out? There's some kind of mindset that you're missing. Perhaps you're afraid to want things. Because you're always going to be brick-walled out of them. So you just do something that is available to you, something that you can want, that is easily available, that is free. But what the fuck then? What kind of specific wants can be blocked off so you wouldn't want? Is the whole purpose, right, of evil is to not let people do good stuff. So somehow, if schools has been distracting you, you must not come back to this. You must not be like, oh yeah, I finished school and I'm gonna be doing the want. Well, first of all, there's an extension of school. So we have colleges and universities suddenly giving you freedom, but I don't think that is the case. I think that is even a bigger bear trap for people. I could draw a bear trap like that, I guess. So, how do I call it? A uni. Again, it's only positive for one gender, and it's girls. Girls get a place to search for other people, to be around other people. Guys have to go on their own way. Whoever gets on the bear trap gets snapped and is stuck without doing what they actually want. First of all, what has to be blocked off in order for you to embrace this, only identical people can do what they want, right? So what happens is that your identity gets blocked off. So that's where you have to look for the threat, is that you don't know who you are, or you cannot express who you are for whatever reason, and you have to fix that reason, and you'll figure out what the problem is. And usually the whole point is social pressure. You're always doing things wrong. There's always a right thing to do things. This is where the identity comes from doing things your way, because it's efficient for you, and only you. If you align with social pressure, if you for a moment think that there is something wrong that you do because other people say, and you don't, be skeptical about that, that's a weird way, you're skeptical about doing things that are unique to you, but you're not skeptical to other people telling you to do things. Basically, it's trying to get away from orders into agreements. You can't agree with people. You must get away from orders. You can secretly agree. Let's say I work in a factory. Someone tells me what to do. Sure, I will agree to that. But I will not agree if just some random stranger tells me what to do. You should not agree to that. And always seek agreements with your friends. Because you are different. First of all, is the recognition of difference that has to be focused upon. And what social pressure tries to deny is that there is a huge amount of difference, and it's ever growing as we actually wake up to how the world works. If I look at the Boy in the Band channel, it's such a different thing. It is relatable in the core, but it's so weird for me, and I love it, right? Because there's something to learn from, or to be It's something completely different that you would normally expect. So you know there's something more to everything. Alright. And the brain says to me like, oh yeah, he's just being normal, you know? And you're not normal. Every time I spot a difference, that's what social pressure is putting you onto. Well, there should be no difference. You're always wrong. You know? But that's where the hero comes from. He's trying to save his own day. Why would he care? He knows what the injustice is, so he's gonna save the day regardless of what people think. Alright, that's the first commitment the hero has to do, is disregard what other people think until you give them the agreement to care, until you agree to care, right? That's the whole point. Because what people do, the first, and that's kind of the biggest thing, right? I said, only agree. Only agree. How can you do stuff that you don't agree with? You have to only agree to do things. That's the only thing that might keep you from doing things, but if you recognize you have to only agree. And people want you to care about them. For whatever reason, they're gonna distract you, they're gonna do all sorts of shit. They will want you to care in all these different ways. They might not even be aware of that. So they will try to make you as unaware of this as possible. They will want you to care about them, about things that they do, whatever, right? About something else that you want to care about. But you must not agree if you don't agree in the first place. The first agreement you have to do with a person like that, you know, is a friendship agreement. This is where you agree to actually care about another person. If I say something to my friend, we have agreed basically to kind of care, to respond in some way or the other. So that is the whole agreement, and if you're not friends with someone, why should you care at all about anything? So when hero saves the day, it's like he's saving all of these people, but he wouldn't be saving that unless it would be a threat to him in some way. And the first thing you have to understand, the threat does not come from social pressure. It could come to fight against social pressure. Yeah, I mean, again, you think like, yeah, it might be a little bit of social pressure to put money into Scientology. Maybe some people don't like that. But in the video, he had to explain what Scientology is, and that only he understands the threat pretty much, because I didn't know. I could have guessed that it's a threat, a legit threat, but you know, I didn't do the research about Scientology. I didn't care. Most people will not care about most of the threats available. There's no worldwide threat. Absolutely. You can see global warming is a worldwide threat, but it doesn't exist necessarily. You know, convince me if you want. Convince me if you care, boys. Alright, but But don't make me care if we haven't made an agreement. And this sort of agreements also, you know, shield you from violence. If someone just randomly wants to say something bad about you, you haven't agreed to care. Yeah, I can put up a comment section and read comments. Does that give an agreement for me to care? Kind of. But I have to be aware that this actually has to be an agreement between two people to understand that such agreement exists. Otherwise, you are the hero saving the day. You don't care about regular people and knowing or not knowing what are you doing exactly, what is going to be the outcome of that. Only kind of just you knowing the outcome is good enough. So how does that tie into productivity? Are there more points here to finish up? Because it's pretty arbitrary, but tie it up a bit. Sure, yeah. Settle down sometimes. Oh, so it's before bed, so there are gonna be 4 points. Should you tie it up before or after? Because it's kind of, I would say I would do it before, not after the whole day. Alright. Yeah, I think it makes sense to settle down and consume a little bit of stuff after everything is done, because I used to do that before work. Alright, whatever. But it's like prepared breakfast. Huh. Okay, whatever. Before work. Pull out anything. Of course. A to-do list. Prioritization. Monitor tasks and keep track of stuff to save time. So to be efficient and things, of course. You cross the task list of what you have done. Fuck me. There's some poop, man. There's some fucking poop. Of course, relaxed. So that's kind of after work. Make supper if needed. What the fuck, man? This is pretty poop, man. It's fucking poop. I don't want to consume poop. Asking internet how to be productive is fucking poop right now. Absolutely. Let's figure out for ourselves. And I'll test if that works. Of course, it's gonna be difficult to figure out what exactly I want to do. But how would we set up our day? So work kind of, I know in general the direction I want to work. I want to make blackboards and do programming, so that is not a big deal. And the rest of the days, well, come down to randomness. the first part will have to, yes, come down to meditation and exercise. Those two are pretty powerful. Meditation kind of also falls down onto these gray boards, but I wouldn't say that's exactly what that is. I don't know. I'll try that. And on the actual work, you would have to do a blackboard, or a few blackboards, or a gray board into a blackboard. Something like that. Alright, that's good. I guess that's fine, right? It's not necessarily I won't necessarily put hours, how many hours you have to do. I won't necessarily track everything. I just kind of will know by heart how much I want to work, when the work can be over, when I can rest, consume other stuff. In the end of the day, it's very good stuff. But yeah, we can still try to figure out what the threat is. Everything else seems to be pretty basic, pretty plannable, or pretty easy to do. Exercise, work, and relaxation and preparation for the next day. The threat. What is gonna be in your mindset the whole time? Is the question I was started with. What makes you a hero? You always have to have an enemy that you would want to fight against. The Doomsday. Superman. The Doomsday is coming. There's always a threat. For Superman, there's always a Doomsday. That's an interesting way to put it, isn't it? The fear of Doomsday. If it comes too early. It's just so weird. Because it's Doomsday. Isn't it always coming? Why should I care about something like that? The Doomsday. Shouldn't I just be motivated by something great? You know? Something that great that can happen, but why can't you do that? Why can't you be motivated by good stuff? Why do you really have to have a threat? The threat in your survival state. Unless that good kind of creates passion somehow. But you have to, in order to make actions and be consistent, you have to first put yourself in a consistency that creates happiness. So you have to get into a state of you work well enough and you recognize your work. But at the start you have to threaten yourself to get into the position to do things. So it's good to start that way until you create a habit. So you have to link these things together and create a habit. The habit comes directly from happiness. Once you recognize that something that you do is great, or is embraceable, that's it, right? So at first you threaten yourself, you force yourself to do stuff, and you create a habit once you recognize that you have done the good way, that you have found a good way to do things. Alright. So we almost figure out is it always gonna work out to just threaten yourself, put yourself into work, and the habit is gonna come up? Again, always depends if you have planned properly, but if you're smart enough, you're gonna understand. Kind of bend around a few things. Only thing you have to do is put work in the middle of the day, and be prepared, do the preparation or warming up before, preparation afterwards, and consuming all the other random stuff that life has to offer. In the ending, the chill, right? The chill, baby. So you have a prep and the chill. Prep and chill. So if you know the plan, then you cannot actually fail by executing it all over and over again, by being aware of it. Where would I put gaming into this? Because I do a lot of gaming. But I kind of, is gaming care? Not really. The work has to be all around expressing your care, proving your identity, basically, expressing that, embracing that. That's what you focus on. And the rest of the days should be the opposite of that. Kind of. That's interesting. If you... I don't know if I showed it, but there's a butterfly. It should pop up all over the place. Right, but there's the sun energy after yin, and this is the identity in itself, right? Is the blind spot, is the thing that you are moving away from, the point of origin. This is the identity that you have. This almost kind of stretches out my blackboard a little bit, because this was fueled by passion, guys. Lots of that. If you can do that, you can see, oh man, I'm running out of space now. We need to unite against this threat. Now we just need to expand a little bit. And the other stuff that you do is going to be totally random. So the moon is going to dictate your exercise, and the stuff that you consume after everything is over the XP. And the identity. That's how you should look at this thing. And this is how you plan the day. Alright. And a butterfly of yin and yang. stab yourself in the face to be more productive. So what would be my personal threat that I could use? What could we make me want to do this? The bastard origami. The big bad boss that I don't know if he exists or not. But he's gonna kick me ass if I don't do stuff. He'll live 500 years now. He knows all the tricks. But I know he has one weakness. We can team up. But I have to train myself. Because it's 1-on-1 battle right now. This is something that I kind of made for myself. A story for Ninja War. And I look into this and it's like exactly what it does. It tries to put a threat in my life to make me productive. It also tells how special I am in fighting this enemy, that I have something to grow within me, something that will defeat him, but that also at least 6 more people around have similar powers that I have. So not only I have to grow, but I have to find others to help me and help them to grow and defeat the motherfucking origami, man. Origami. Yeah, that was from childhood, and my childhood me was probably a fucking smart ass motherfucker, and was productive, and I can't even fathom enough how powerful my past me was in general. It's like, read your own books, buddy, and learn from your past self, because it was way cooler than you ever remember. You know? That's what basically I get from this. So maybe that kind of thing we can do for a weird meditation session. It's kind of creating a story time. Either separate board or it's just gonna be gray board as well. You can do some kind of story timing. Cause the last time I worked, and work takes 12 hours, and sometimes you get stuck without any thoughts. I was thinking like, alright, we can do story time. And I got into that. Like, holy shit, there's some action going on. Some crazy ass shit. I got into that, and that really went by, helping me, you know, go through the day and not be too aware of how shitty the day is. I just got story time, and even I was excited. The Hunger Games. That's what I was thinking about. Hunger Games with a slight twist that they made it so fucking interesting. But at the same time I have this whole fucking story about ninjas beating origami. You bastard. How can you imagine this origami for real, if you understand what social pressure is, what all that shit is. Alright, so again, social pressure just simply wants you to do things that you don't want to do, but just makes you do things, or orders you around like a puppet, rips you off from your identity, and it feeds you to origami, because origami eats identities. Yeah, he's a very badass motherfucker. So not only you have to not give him, but you have to fight back by embracing yourself against him. Oh yeah. And again, you can understand that in real world somehow this actually exists. Some kind of state of the same thing, that some kind of entity is eating people's identities for real. There's some kind of injustice, inequality of knowledge, something that I have to figure out again. Again, I just think it's just social pressure. If people pressure each other out, they cannot create an identity. I mean, the whole fucking stacking of a pyramid of social pressure is towards one entity. It's not spreading yourself out and being in your own unique position. It's kind of grouping yourself towards some kind of super evil entity or a super culture. I don't know. It's just anti-identity to put yourself into a pyramid shape where everyone is a puppet and everyone has strings to control other puppets, and you're given a string. Now it's time. It's your time to control. Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do control? Once you become aware that you have an identity and it's kind of unavoidable, you have to fight back. And all we did was just said the same things all over again. That the biggest threat is a soul eater. If he eats enough souls, he's gonna come. Appear. If the pyramid is being built, right, and if it's completed, something is gonna come. That's what's on the dollar bill, right? The top of the pyramid is just kind of flat shape, and the eye is basically the same thing, right? Here's the eye, right? Here's the pyramid. It's trying to be finished. I guess I can like cut down the top. If people can create such a huge inequality of knowledge that they become the ultimate masters and ultimate controllers of the game of life, that is the whole race right now. If someone gets to the infinity point of control beyond themselves, right? Any order that other people follow is a control beyond one person's capability. And if one entity, and this is like the ultimate doomsday scenario that we sometimes imagine, is like robots taking over the world or something like that, it's actually much more real for a person to take over the world who is gonna program robots to do so, right? it makes so much more sense to think that way instead of robots somehow having infinite power just simply because something went wrong. No, something has to go right first. So a person has to program for self-interest and take over the fucking world. And we have to fight against that threat that people are unaware that even a simple order that they agree to do, even though they don't really agree, anything that rips them off, gets them on strings of god damn it, I don't have any space here, but I could just show a person with strings, you know, controlling another person with strings, and this never ends unless you break the chain. Right. Wait. It has to be in his hands. So let me... Puppeteers, baby. It's a puppeteer, so... Alright. That's how it works. That's the ultimate evil, the ultimate threat of something stealing all of the identities, taking over the world. You know, if someone takes over the world, there is no identity left. There's nothing left, because everyone is in order by someone else's wishes and dreams. And as long as this is happening, as long as we don't even understand what friendship is, you know, we don't have definitions. You don't have proper definitions of anything. So there's another, you know, philosophical aspect of how you have to fight against this. When you are productive, what you have to focus upon when teaching other people is when destroying inequality of knowledge. That definitions are the way to start. Testing them first, proving them that they don't know the definitions of super important things, and then focusing on that and focusing on their identities more importantly, or most importantly. But of course there's so many other things to check, and it's almost like the ultimate blackboard again has been created that pieces things together all over again, simply by asking a question: how can you be more productive? Well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna save the world? You're gonna save the day? Save us from the schools, motherfucker? Yeah. Give me the bloods. Enter the school. Please enter. No exit for you, buddy. That's right. I don't know. What are you gonna do? That is the most difficult question to answer. But you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta be yourself first. And then things will follow. The art will flow out of your essence or identity. Your identity is full of stuff to do. Don't worry about that, right? You're gonna learn, you're gonna explore new tools, open up new ways to do things. You're gonna be like, oh shit, now I can do this. Yes, exactly. And so much social pressure that you have to just delete from your life. Delete parents, delete friends, isolate yourself, because you need to isolate. isolate. You need the eye before it's too late. The eye is too late. Alright, that's gonna be the super weird black boot or grey boot. You know that? Wouldn't people consider this weird, right? If they would wonder, like, what the fuck you doing? What the fuck is that? Right? What this shit are you doing? You have to protect yourself. Once you know you're doing something because of your identity, you have to say that. It is my identity. It's my personality. That's what I want to achieve in life. Without even thinking, that should be your response first. Then you figure out how it is that you end up here if you don't know already. If someone asks why I do grey boards, the answer is obvious. For me, at least. But this is who I am. This is where I end up with. Trying to share knowledge to other people, trying to understand things properly. So if someone gives me a solution to a huge problem, how to be motivated, so I could analyze that, make sure that I can follow the same plan. And it's really cool, probably, if this works out properly. I don't know. Forcing myself. But again, you have to force yourself in a way that creates happiness. That's it. And you pretty much know your threat. If you're smart enough, you know your threat. Unless you have to create it like that, like the person had done it. The boy in the band had done it. But you can do it. You just have to be smart enough, and it actually takes a lot of effort to make a threat. But as I said, just a threat of your personality, everyone else's personality, that's big enough to be motivated to do things, at least for the time being. The threat of ultimate control falling into one person's arms, that's big concern right now. Anyways, let's cut it off, say goodbyes, and let's see if this works. First I have to figure out how I want to exactly do this, but I'm probably just gonna do it tomorrow. Threaten myself, quit a habit. I don't even know exactly how am I gonna plan out a day. But yeah, I'll just add some programming. I'll add some blackboards. Shit is gonna work out, right? I just have to work a little bit more. That's it. And somehow I'm just already comfortable with that because I know how it works. So I don't feel like I'll have to fight against huge unhappiness already. So basically I went through a lot of work already. It's just that I didn't actually did a lot of work. But I also wasn't really unhappy for not doing it. It's just now there are a lot of things that I make a lot of mistakes. Kind of feels bad. So I'll have to reflect, I'll have to meditate, I'll have to do a lot of things to get on my feet. But that's the plan, and it should definitely work. I definitely see that the way it is going to. Alright, see you guys next time. See you guys.